IVC, Dale Gatefold 33 here, jumping back on sooner than I thought I would. This is a thread response video or a non-vinyl tag 2021 video that Alan Static Traveller has done. Very interesting questions, non-vinyl related. So I've done some scrabbling around this morning. It's Sunday morning, 10th of January. So sadly, it's the anniversary of the death, 5-year anniversary of the death of David Bowie. Yeah, so I thought I've got them just written here, the questions, and I've got stuff all over, precariously balanced. So hopefully it won't all go horribly wrong. So Alan asked 10 questions. I thought they were interesting, so I thought I'd have a go. A mini album or an unusual packaging CD. So now a CD that's in a mini album package. So this is one I bought quite recently. I think it came out in the last year or so, and I haven't even opened it, and I don't intend to open it. So this Sticky Fingers is my favourite Rolling Stones album, and this is a Japanese CD version of the Spanish alternative cover for Sticky Fingers. I don't need the music that's in here. I've got it in multiple formats, so I just bought it for the artwork. And an unusual packaging. So as and the people who've probably followed my channel will know, I'm into my kind of UK psych folk, and get a lot of stuff on Bandcamp, trying to support artists on Bandcamp, and I get a lot of unusual stuff. So this is a woodland walk. So a lot of kind of like recorder and a cappella songs, mainly for children, but it's packaged in a plastic kind of wraparound with a leather lace sealing it. So yeah, something that is awkward to store, as Alan kind of mentioned. So that's those. See that up there. Book I returned to. So yeah, I'm a bit of a list person. I'm a bit of a sad list person over the years. So a book I've returned to, and I've got a couple of editions of this for no reason. You can even see it's faded on the spine here. Is the most, all these things, the all-time top 1,000 albums, which as soon as you get it is. But you can see there I've marked whether I've got it on vinyl or not. Over the years I've marked it up, and I've even, I think at one point I was keeping a running tally by date about how many vinyl copies and all of that I had. So these are always good to see what people have said about albums at the time. So there's an example of a book I return to, although I don't return to it so much these days because I've got lists online, like in Rate Your Music, where I do a similar thing electronically. So I don't need to dig the books out, but sometimes it's good to thumb through a book. 3 releases from 3 decades. So to try and change it up and not show just CDs in this, I've gone for cassettes. And I've been a bit lazy. I've just gone for one artist in 3 different decades, but it's Bob Dylan. So from the 70s, Street Legal, and then maybe a couple of more obscure, don't get shown very often for good reason. So from the 80s, Knocked Out Loaded, and from the from the 90s, Good As I've Been to You. So yeah, 3 Bob Dylan albums from 3 different decades on cassette. A CD box that I've got the most, that's got the most CDs, and I showed this last year. I got this last year. And this is Nielsen, the RCA albums collection. So I think there are 17 CDs in here, and a nice booklet, all in replica, album sleeves, some of them in gatefold, so they've got that, what Alan said, you know, you've got that incredibly small text to read. Good thing about these is they've also got bonus tracks, and then there are a whole albums of sessions, so it's a real comprehensive catalogue of Nielsen's RCA material, and I've only scratched the surface of that. Put that up there as well. Magazine. So I was going to do a whole show and tell on this, and I may do. So unlike Alan, I buy far too many magazines, and I've changed over the years. I've gone from, I used to get Q magazine when it existed. But I stopped probably 10 or 15 years ago with Q. I used to get Classic Rock magazine, Classic Rock Prog, but again I stopped those several years ago, and I now get Record Collector, Uncut, Mojo, Shindig, and then I buy specials as well. So they're my monthly magazines, but I don't store them all. So I keep specials and special editions. I mean, here's a Mojo 60s, Pink Floyd and others in it. So I keep special editions and the uncut artist. But what I tend to do is, when I've got a few, where is it? When I've got a few volumes of the magazine, this comes out, and I go through and I hack out the articles, and where the articles relate to a record. So I'm going to show, so like Abbey Road, I put them in a little Polly Pocket, and they go in the back of the record that they relate to, so that, you know, in theory, when I'm playing the record, I can read all the magazine articles written about that. Alternative, they go in a volume. So this is, so you can tell I've got a lot of these. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 volumes of magazine articles. This is A to BO, taken as of different artists, for me to delve into the archive should I ever feel the need. So that's what I do in my magazines, and then never have time to go and read the articles, but they're always there should I need them in the library. Non-music CD, I struggled on this because I would have had to do some real digging in some real dusty and dusty places to probably find anything. So what I've come up with is quite a cheat, actually, because it's a bootleg, i.e. a burn, but it's French with Michel Thomas 8-disc. I borrowed this from the library years and years and years ago when I used to commute in the car, and we go on holiday to France every year with the kids. So this is like a conversational way of learning French, where, you know, Jean-Paul says it and Marie-Claire says it, and then you have to say it out loud. So when you're driving in the car, it was a way of supposedly learning French. I didn't quite get through the course, I'll confess. So that's all I could find on that, so sorry. CD not played in 2 years. Well, I'm doing a series at the moment of vinyl albums not played in the last 5 years, so I've got plenty of CDs not played in the last 2 years. And the shelves behind me have got lots of them ready to revisit. Put that there. So I just pulled two out that I'm looking to revisit because I haven't played them in the last 2 years. So they're Elliott Smith, Either Or is one, and a CD single, Kate Roosby, the northeastern folk singer, Cow Song, a folk CD single. So there's just a couple, but there's hundreds, as many as the records that I haven't played in the last 2 years. Music DVD I'd recommend. I've not been particularly adventurous here, so we go with the Old Grey Whistle Test, and the Old Grey Whistle Test 2. So, you know, fantastic archive of many different artists from many genres who appeared on the Old Grey Whistle Test from the sort of mainly the 70s and the 80s. So that's that. A disappointment. So in the sort of late 90s, early noughts, I used to watch, for my kind of new music introduction, I used to watch Later with Jools Holland, and quite often, you know, acts would go on there and do different versions, or you know, you'd hear new acts and they'd always sound fresh and interesting live, and then you'd go out and, well, often I'd go out and buy the CD and it'd be a bit of a disappointment. And here's one example, Stornoway. So these were like a folk rock, folk pop artists called Stornoway, but they were from Oxford. So that's I probably should have given me a clue. But yeah, not a bit kind of folk rock light. And so when I got the actual album when it was released, because they went on to Jools Holland before they'd released the album, I pre-ordered it. When I got it, it was a disappointment. And then finally, an album you never play in front of the parents or children. So in this case, it's children, and my daughter, who's just turned 22 last week. But an artist I'd really like is the Swedish rock band Opeth, who started off as a more like a death metal band with the throat, that type singing in their early albums, and then sort of Michael Åkerfeldt changed his vocal style to more conventional. And when I play the early stuff, you know, certainly since, you know, my daughter's been sort of 12 onwards, if I play this, particularly like the stereo in the lounges underneath her bedroom, sometimes she'd come down and say, "Dad, please turn that off. I'm scared. It's scaring me. That music, I can't sleep, or I can't concentrate, or I can't do anything because that music is just scaring me." So and even now, if I put it on, she would say, "Turn that scary music off." So that's that. So yeah, had a go. I think good idea, Alan. Maybe this catches on, and there's a non-vinyl tag each year where we do get to delve into some of our other stuff. So cheers, VC, bye.